Have you ever seen someone try to argue their way out of a speeding ticket with the Constitution? Well, meet Mr. Page, a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen, who takes his courtroom drama to the next level. Right from the start, Mr. Page claims he was traveling, not driving, and insists that speed limits aren't real laws. He even argues the court has no power over him because, in his view, there was no injured party. And yes, he seriously believes his right to freely travel under the Constitution protects him from a speeding ticket. The judge listens patiently as he presents his arguments, sometimes letting him speak for minutes on end. But eventually, she makes it clear, while the Constitution guarantees rights, those rights come with limits and regulations. Driving on public roads. That counts as driving, not just traveling, and Michigan's speed laws still apply. Here's the twist. Even after hours of arguing, Mr. Page refuses to cross-examine the police officer who issued the ticket, a crucial step if he really wanted to challenge the evidence. In the end, the judge finds him speeding 11 to 15 miles per hour over the limit and fines him $130. Mr. Page asks for a payment plan, citing financial struggles, leaving viewers to wonder, are sovereign citizens motivated by desperation, ideology, or just a need to argue? Courtroom chaos, constitutional claims, and a speeding ticket, this one has it all.
Okay, can you just tell me what the
Oh, yes, Your Honor. The people offered to reduce the charge of speeding 11 to 15 over to a double parking.
All right, and Mr. Page, you understand that's a civil infraction, has a fine of $165, but it doesn't have any points on your license.
Right.
Okay, and you've rejected that offer?
I have.
Okay. All right, so we're proceeding with our hearing then.
Okay.
Mr. Page, is there something you want to, if you're just going to read me a giant sovereign citizen objection to my jurisdiction, I'll give you 2 minutes to put whatever you want to put on record, and then we're proceeding with the hearing. Fair?
Don't I have the right to be heard lawfully?
Well, you have the right to ask questions to the witness.
Okay.
And to, make any arguments you want to the court.
Right.
But as far as jurisdictional arguments, the court does have jurisdiction.
Okay, is this court operating in administrative or judicial law?
I'm not participating in this, sir.
I would
Well, this is a court of law.
I would have to know because there's no injured party in this case. So
there doesn't have to be.
There does. In order to set bond against me, there has to be an injured party.
Okay. Anything else? I am operating under the laws of the state of Michigan and the Michigan Constitution. And that's the information that I'm willing to provide. And and I'm certain you're aware of that, sir. You've lived in the United States for your life.
And I'm also aware that I have the right to freely travel at my own vehicle.
Correct.
That I maintain and take care of. There was no injured party. I was not engaged in commerce or commercial activity.
Okay. Well, they can get tickets too for speeding.
I'm protected under the Constitution. Speed limit's not law. The Constitution says that.
Actually,
the speed limit is statute, code, and ordinance.
Correct. Statute and ordinance. That's correct.
So how could I be charged if we're operating under this type of law and no injured party?
Well, your federal right to travel under the state or the federal Constitution doesn't mean that you're not subject to regulatory. I mean, do we not have to get driver's licenses? Do we not have to get car insurance? Do we not have to follow basic speed laws? I mean, you can have a constitutional right with limits and or regulatory provisions or statutory provisions. The right to drive is not written in the Constitution. The right to travel is.
Yeah, and I made that clear to the officer that I was traveling. I wasn't driving. I had that.
Were you in a car?
I had that film too.
So were you in a car?
Yes, I was.
All right, you were operating a motor vehicle. And were you in the city of Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't operating a motor vehicle though. I was traveling freely down the road.
In a motor vehicle.
That I maintain and take care of myself. That's my property.
Okay. I understand that. That doesn't affect this. I mean, you were driving a car in the city of Taylor. Yes. Okay. And that's why we're here.
Okay.
Okay.
Your Honor, people who would waive opening at this time would be prepared to call their first witness when you're ready.
Okay. Call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we call Corporal Billy Schillenberg to the stand.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, have a seat.
58 miles per hour and 45 mile per hour zone at 694.5 feet.
Wait, say that again. 58 miles per hour. Now, what was the speed limit there?
45.
And based on the reading that you received of 58 and you were monitoring a 45 mile an hour zone, what did you do next?
At that time, when I got the 58 and 45, when I got the 58 and 45, set my LiDAR device down. I maintained visual sight of the vehicle that I got the reading from. When Mr. Page approached my patrol vehicle, so when I exited the parking lot which I was sitting in.
Objection, I approached your vehicle.
All right. Can you just clarify when you say?
I never got out of my vehicle.
All right. Well, let's let him clarify the answer.
Okay.
I took it to mean something
Sorry,
else.
Your
So
Honor.
no, you have a right to make an objection. Can you just have him clarify what he means by
Yes,
that?
Corporal Schillenberg, can you please clarify your last statement?
So sitting on the west side of Telegraph Road, monitoring southbound traffic in a parking lot.
And that was the parking lot of Turbo Motors?
Yes.
12200 Telegraph?
Yes.
Okay.
So sitting stationary in that parking lot, when I got the reading of 58 and 45, Mr. Page was 694.6 feet away from my vehicle. So as he passed my vehicle in his automobile, that's when I exited the parking lot, pulled behind his vehicle, activated my emergency lights, and initiated a traffic stop on his vehicle.
All right. And that traffic stop was initiated in the parking lot down the road at 12510 South Telegraph?
Yes, that'd be the Enterprise.
What was it?
Enterprise?
Enterprise. Okay.
And you maintained visual contact with the vehicle the entire time? Did you at some point identify the driver of that 2020 Ford Fusion, silver in color?
I did.
All right. And just for purposes of the record, do you see that individual in the courtroom here today?
I did.
And describe what he's wearing.
Wearing a brown suit and black undershirt.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that he has identified the defendant, Zachary Ryan Page, seated at counsel table.
The record shall so reflect.
Based on your reading and your observations, Corporal Schillenberg, did you then issue a citation to the defendant?
All right, so while we were on the traffic stop, I asked Mr. Page for his identification numerous times, which he refused to do so. I refused to do so. At that time, Sergeant Kish made my location. Mr. Page eventually ended up providing his driver's license to Sergeant Kish. At that time, I was able to issue him a citation for the speeding 11:15 hour.
All right, Mr. Page, you have some questions for the witness? You're free to step to the podium just so the court reporter can take everything down.
No questions for the witness.
Okay, please, Corporal Kish, thank you.
Corporal Schillenberg. People rested this time, Your Honor.
All right, do you have anything you want to enter into the record?
I want to enter into the record that I'm here today making special appearance under sue juris as one of the people of Michigan, not as a defendant under the jurisdiction of this court. I'm asserting my unalienable rights as secured by the Michigan Declaration of Rights under the United States Constitution, particularly under Article 1, Section 1 of the Michigan Constitution, which establishes all political power is inherent in the people. At that outset, I raise jurisdictional challenge to this court.
Your Honor, may I interrupt? And I apologize for interrupting, but Corporal Schillenberg is our traffic supervisor, and there's been an issue over the Taylor Police Department this morning. Technical difficulty.
He's free to go. Do you have any other questions for Corporal Schillenberg?
No.
All right, Corporal Schillenberg, you're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, sir.
This outset, I raise jurisdictional challenge to the court, as jurisdiction must be proven on the record before any further proceedings can lawfully continue. The separation of powers doctrine, as outlined in Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan Constitution, makes it clear that no branch of government may exercise the powers of another. Before proceeding, I require clarification on whether this court is operating in a judicial capacity or administrative. If this court is acting under administrative directives or executive branch policies, rather than operating as a constitutionally recognized judicial body, then it is exceeding its lawful authority. No administrative agency, including the SOS, possesses lawful authority to direct judicial rulings or override the people's due process rights. Any attempt to enforce such directives constitutes an unconstitutional exercise of power, rendering these proceedings null and void ab initio. Furthermore, jurisdiction cannot be established by assumption, presumption, or coercion. Due process demands that I am provided with clear, lawful authority establishing the legitimacy of this court's jurisdiction over me. An individual exercising my constitutionally protected right to travel. Without such proof, this court is proceeding without lawful authority, and any ruling is issued a legal nullity. I now formally demand that this court place on the record the specific constitutional authority establishing jurisdiction over me as one of the people of Michigan, the legal basis that allows this court to act under administrative directives or executive policies without violating the separation of powers doctrine can lawfully take place.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, I heard testimony today from Corporal Billy Schillingberg. Corporal Schillingberg testified he is works the traffic bureau at the city of Taylor, and that he was in that capacity, working in that capacity on November 4th of 2024 at 1:35 p.m. approximately. He testified that this occurred within the city of Taylor, within the state of Michigan. He testified that he is trained and certified to use LiDAR devices, and that the device had been inspected. He explained how the device is placed at the hood of the vehicle, or aimed at the hood of the vehicle, and it determines the speed and feet from the LiDAR device. He testified that at the time, I can't recall the exact number, but he was approximately 600 feet away from the driver of the silver Ford Fusion, and that he was clocked at a speed of 58 in a 45-mile-hour zone. He testified as the vehicle came towards him and passed him, he put his device down and initiated a traffic stop. The stop ultimately occurred at 12510, which is on Telegraph Road, which is the business of Enterprise. Corporal Schillingberg also identified Mr. Page as the driver of the motor vehicle, and his license was ultimately produced, and he was issued a traffic citation. The standard for these hearings is not beyond a reasonable doubt, and there was no questions to Officer Schillingberg.
Have you ever seen someone take a simple speeding ticket and turn it into a full-blown courtroom spectacle? That's exactly what happens here with Mr. Page, a self-proclaimed, sovereign citizen, whose courtroom behavior is equal parts bold, baffling, and strangely entertaining. From the very start, it's clear that this is not going to be your ordinary traffic hearing. Mr. Page steps up and makes an argument that most people would never dare. He wasn't driving, he was traveling. According to him, speed limits aren't real laws, and the court has no jurisdiction because no injured party exists. He insists that his constitutional right to freely travel protects him from any enforcement, and he delivers his arguments with a confidence that commands attention, even if it doesn't command agreement. The judge listens patiently, allowing him to present his arguments at length. Every claim, no matter how far-fetched, is heard fully. She doesn't interrupt unnecessarily, but there's a quiet authority in the way she handles the courtroom. She makes it clear, through careful explanation, that while constitutional rights exist, they are not limitless. Operating a motor vehicle on public roads is legally driving, not just traveling, and Michigan's traffic laws apply to everyone, regardless of personal interpretations. She addresses his points calmly, sometimes repeating the law in multiple ways, showing that no amount of creative reasoning can override legal reality. Mr. Page continues, undeterred, presenting argument after argument. He challenges the legitimacy of the citation, questions the authority of the officer, and brings up complex legal theories about personal sovereignty. He speaks about rights, freedoms, and what he believes the Constitution allows. The courtroom is quiet, the tension thick, as he lays out these ideas with passion. His dedication to his beliefs is clear, even if those beliefs clash with reality. Despite all this, he makes a critical decision. He refuses to cross-examine the police corporal who issued the ticket. In a typical case, cross-examination is a key moment where a defendant can question evidence and challenge testimony. By skipping it, Mr. Page essentially leaves a gap in his own defense. It's a striking moment, highlighting that his arguments may be more about principle or performance than practical success. The judge listens, nods, and waits. She doesn't rush. She gives every argument its moment but ultimately lays down the law. She explains that speeding, by definition, is exceeding the posted limit, and the evidence shows that Mr. Page was going 11 to 15 miles per hour over. No matter how creative or detailed his arguments were, the law applies uniformly. At the end, he's found responsible and fined $130. When he requests a payment plan due to financial difficulties, there's a brief moment of humanity amidst the complex legal arguments, a reminder that behind the bold claims and courtroom theatrics, this is a person facing a real consequence. What makes this case so compelling is not just the fine or the speeding ticket itself, but the psychology and ideology behind it. Sovereign citizen arguments like those Mr. Page makes are fascinating because they combine elements of law, philosophy, and personal belief. They challenge authority, question norms, and test the patience of anyone involved. For viewer, it's impossible not to ask, is he doing this out of desperation, thinking he can avoid financial punishment? Is it a deeply held ideological belief? Or is it, in part, just the thrill of challenging authority and seeing how far he can push the system? Throughout the hearing, it's clear that the courtroom is a stage for these arguments. Mr. Page uses every opportunity to articulate his points, weaving legal terminology, historical references, and interpretations of constitutional rights into his narrative. The judge's calm and deliberate responses create a counterbalance, emphasizing the difference between personal belief and enforceable law. The tension between these two perspectives, creative argument versus established law, keeps the viewer engaged, wondering what will happen next. Even the finer details are telling. The refusal to cross-examine the officer, the insistence on redefining driving as traveling, the focus on abstract rights rather than practical evidence, each choice shapes the outcome. It becomes less about winning or losing in the traditional sense and more about the interplay of belief, authority, and consequence. By the time the hearing concludes, the takeaway is clear: no matter how inventive your argument, certain rules apply. The court is not just a platform for ideas, it's a space where laws are enforced, and consequences follow. Mr. Page's case is a vivid example of what happens when personal interpretation meets the legal system. It's equal parts educational, entertaining, and, at times, surreal. For viewer, it's a lesson in legal reality, human psychology, and the curious world of sovereign citizen ideology. It sparks questions, debates, and a lot of curiosity about why people adopt such approaches. And while Mr. Page leaves with a fine and a payment plan, the real story is the clash of ideas, the courtroom tension, and the spectacle of someone testing the limits of law and belief in real time. This courtroom encounter isn't just about a speeding ticket, it's about understanding how people interpret rights, how laws are applied, and what happens when those worlds collide. Every minute of argument, every explanation from the judge, and every decision made in the courtroom adds to a narrative that captivates anyone watching. And in the end, viewers are left pondering the same question: why do sovereign citizens like Mr. Page challenge the system so boldly, and what drives them to risk consequences in the pursuit of their beliefs?